You talk about this dynamic between likability and trust, and there are people that we like that we don't trust, and there are people
Like celebrities.
we trust and we don't like, right? So do they
Uh,
always have to go hand in hand, or are they mutually exclusive?
well, they're certainly not mutually exclusive. Ideally, you would like to have a person or a company that you like, trust, and has high quality stuff. Because you can like and trust a restaurant, but if their food is crap, you still don't want to eat there. The flip side is restaurant has great food, but they're really arrogant, and you make a reservation for a party for 4 at 8, and you show up there at 8, and they say, well, it's going to be 10. So now you no longer trust them, right? So it takes a degree of everything. But if I had a choice, a magical choice, I would rather start with a company that has a great product or a great service, and then work on the likability and trustworthiness. I think the hardest thing to do is to have a great product or service.
I agree. And without that, that's really the cornerstone, isn't it? I worked for a company at one point that I think everyone that worked for the company and customers really, and the industry regarded as enchanting. In many ways. Great product, great culture, great brand. I mean, you name it. And everybody felt very good about that. And then the leadership of the company changed. And with it, too, that sense of enchantment. In other words, we all felt anything but enchanting after a certain point. So is it conceivable that an organization can actually be an enchanting organization or an enchanting brand if the person running the company isn't? You mentioned before they have to have a genuine interest or desire.
Yeah.
Is it possible if they're?
I think it's possible that you could have a CEO who just wants things done perfectly, just total perfectionist, right? Just wants the best product, the best service, the best support, the best everything. You could have a CEO like that who is not personally enchanting, but would create a company that is enchanting. So I think that is possible. Now, the hard part is that this person's desire for perfection has to include the desire for a perfection in terms of customer relations.
Right.
And that is typically not the case.
Right.
So I think it is possible, but why make it harder on yourself? I mean, it would be just easier if the CEO wants to have an enchanting company, as opposed to perfection, and perfection would include enchanting people.
Do you think Wall Street to some extent conspires against the whole notion of enchantment? And what I mean by that is, Howard Schultz wrote in his book Onward recently. He said that our darkest period was when we lost. Your picture's frozen, by the way, too, Guy. But that's okay. We can hear you. We can hear you perfectly. So don't worry about it. He said our darkest hour is when we started to believe that growth was our core value, and I think a lot of companies find themselves in that predicament. They start as entrepreneurial organizations where you have this strong sense of leadership and culture and enchantment.
Yes.
And the pressures of the shareholder in Wall Street force them into a corner. Do you think that's the case? Does Wall Street sort of beat the enchantment out of companies?
I would say yes. I think that it beats the enchantment out of companies. It probably also beats the innovation out of companies, because you're only good as your last quarter, right? And some innovation and some enchantment take a lot longer than 90 days. So what do you do when you're held to this 90-day time bomb and you want to do something that's going to take more than 90 days? This is a tough one. So I don't think it necessarily means that every publicly traded company cannot be enchanting, but certainly there are pressures against this.
Yeah. I look at a company. You have Lululemon Stores. I think we came across Lululemon in San Francisco.
What do they sell?
They sell yoga. It's an apparel. It's an apparel retailer, and they sell athletic wear, sports wear. for men and women, but largely for women, and they are on fire right now. They're growing leaps and bounds, and I know venture capitalists are really taking a hard look at them and figuring out how they can scale up. And so it's a perfect example of a brand that I feel runs that, they're walking that fine line of going from being a highly enchanting brand to, to becoming sort of watered down, watering that proposition down. So it's an interesting dynamic. Now, on that note, though, we talk about, as consumers, we all agree that we want to deal with brands that are enchanting, ideally, right? And yet, you look at some of the most successful companies, and Walmart being a good example, perhaps, there's a brand that is anything but really enchanting. We can respect them on many levels, but enchanting, not so much, right?
But you know what? I don't have any delusions of megalomania, all right? I'm not saying that in order to be successful, the only path is enchantment. That is a path. It is a path that I think Apple and Zappos and Starbucks and Virgin America and Virgin Atlantic have taken. But you can also be operationally excellent and just, you're just a manufacturing or retailing machine, and you do that better. Your expertise is distribution. I don't particularly consider the big box, Costco or whatever, enchanting, right? Mm-hmm. On the other hand, they are successful. So enchantment is one path to success. I don't think it's the only path. I don't even necessarily think it's the best path. Best path. It really depends for the industry and the founders.
Do you think it's a more defendable position if you can get to that level as a brand where consumers are literally enchanted by you and as you say, kind of follow you like the Pied Piper in Apple's case? Is that a more defendable competitive position than being operationally excellent in your opinion?
I would think so, but I have to say I have some appreciation for being operationally excellent. That is also a non-trivial place to get to. So I think that is also defensible. Ideally you'd have a really great kick-ass company who is also enchanting. But, in a perfect world, I would be in the NHL too, so it ain't a perfect world, right? But,
I don't know, maybe one more day a week, I think, of practice.
Yeah, probably. One more day a week for 30 years. Yeah.
Just shifting gears for a second. What are some of the stores that you shop at that you find particularly enchanting?
In addition to the Apple Store, of course.
In addition to the Apple Store,
yeah.
Any places you travel a tremendous amount, so you must come across a number of different places.
There's a retail store in Menlo Park called Cheeky Monkey, a small independent toy store that I really enjoy going to, although it costs me a lot of money every time I go to that store. I really love to shop. I love to go to stores. And I'll tell you, maybe the most enchanting places for shopping, I think one is the Boqueria in Barcelona. Very interesting, fresh food and meats. It's a people's market. It's a people's market on steroids.
Is that right?
So that Boqueria in Barcelona is a really fascinating, enchanting place. I've never been to the Tsukiji fish market in Tokyo, but I hear that's a really fascinating place. Mm-hmm. And then there's the Bazaar of all bazaars, which is the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul. Right. That is a really interesting place.
Yeah.
And in my book, I say that Istanbul is probably the most enchanting city in the world. I really enjoy Istanbul.
Is that right?
Yeah. Have you ever been?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you gotta go.
I haven't. I've been to Turkey, but not to Istanbul.
Yeah. Istanbul is a wonderful city.
Yeah, so I've heard. And the Grand Bazaar, that's stretching. That's the roots of retail right there.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, that's the Great Mall of Turkey, right?
Yeah. That sort of leads me to this thought too. There's debate out there. There's always this ongoing debate that
Mhm.
That retail stores, bricks and mortar are becoming outmoded. That we don't need them anymore. That we're going to buy everything eventually online, and
Yeah.
we all hear this, and I for one believe that that's not the case. I think we're going to always need stores, but largely because of the social element of shopping. It's about getting out with people into public spaces. I think that's part of what shopping's all about.
Yep.
Would you agree with that?
Yes. And the most digital company is proving that every day. It's Apple, right? I mean, of all companies, you would think that Apple, with its Apple fans, would use the web, and you could say, well, you could go to the web. There's 4 different kinds of iPods with 3 different memory sizes with 8 colors each.
Yeah.
That's a lot of SKUs, right?
Yeah.
So why would they have all those SKUs? Just the Apple fanboy is on the internet, go there, buy the thing, and go home, right? Or not even go home, but just click.
Yeah.
And obviously, it doesn't work like that. So I think Apple is a great example of disproving that everything can be digital. Another kind of store that's disproving that is Cupcake Stores. I mean, have you been to some of these Cupcake stores like Sprinkles and I don't know.
There's one called Eleni's in New York I've been to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really great experience. I don't see replacing those at all, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so no, I don't. I love to shop. I love to be out there. So, and I think a lot of shopping you do with your kids. And there is no comparison to take your kids to a toy store versus what? Go to, etoys.com in the old days and let's look at the American Girl dolls on at the American Girl site. I mean, yeah, I understand you could get more selection and all that, but there's still something about, seeing the doll and picking from all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting too, because shopping is, when you get right down to it, it can be a form of play. Right?
It is. Absolutely.
And kids are still pretty good at playing.
Yep.
So, yeah, absolutely. So, okay, if you were, I regard you, I know you do a multitude of things. You're a businessman, you're a speaker, you're an investor, and, a teacher of sorts. If you were giving a lesson to a company on the 3 main things you need to do, what are the 3 things you need to do to get on the path to enchantment and to really start blowing your customers away? What would you say the 3 things are?
Well, the big 3 pillars are likable staff, trustworthy staff, and a great product, a great service. Is that what you mean? Because those are the 3 pillars. But, that's kind of motherhood and apple pie, right? Although, for all the motherhood and apple pie-ness of that, there are a lot of people who have unlikable people, untrustworthy people, marketing a piece of crap.